I'm Libby, 26 years old, and last month I finally bought my dream car after years of saving every penny. A metallic blue Honda Civic that represented my hard work and independence. My younger sister Madison has always been the golden child who gets away with everything. But even I was shocked when I came home from work to find my new car with a massive dent, and Madison standing there with a smirk on her face saying, "Mom and Dad will make you forgive me anyway." Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button, because you won't believe what the security camera footage revealed, and how it wiped that smug smile right off her face. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Philadelphia, it was always clear that my sister Madison was the favorite child. Our parents, Diana and Robert, never tried to hide their preference. Madison was 3 years younger, naturally charismatic, and knew exactly how to wrap our parents around her finger with big eyes and sweet talk. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, the planner, the one who followed rules and worked hard. Unfortunately, that meant I was often overlooked. By the time I was 16, I realized that if I wanted anything in life, I'd have to work for it myself. My first job was at a local coffee shop, waking up at 4 in the morning to serve cranky customers before school. While Madison got a brand new phone for her birthday, I saved for 6 months to buy a refurbished one. When she got driving lessons and access to the family car whenever she wanted, I had to pay for my own lessons and borrow the car only when nobody else needed it. College was another stark example of our different paths. Our parents paid Madison's full tuition at an expensive private university, which she treated like a 4-year party, changing majors 3 times and barely maintaining passing grades. Meanwhile, I worked my way through community college, then transferred to state school, graduating with a nursing degree while working nearly full-time. "You know, Madison isn't as responsible as you are," my mom would say whenever I pointed out the unfairness. "She needs more support." After college, I moved back home temporarily to save money while working at Philadelphia General Hospital. Living at home wasn't ideal, but Philly's rental market was brutal, and I had a bigger goal, buying my own car. Not just any car, but one that was new, reliable, and completely mine. For 2 years, I worked extra shifts, picked up overtime, and cut every possible expense. No eating out, no new clothes, no vacations. Every dollar went into my car fund. Madison, meanwhile, moved back home after college too, but with no clear plans. She cycled through 3 jobs in her first year, quitting each one because her boss was unfair or the work was boring. She borrowed money from our parents constantly, promising to pay them back, but never did. The day I hit my car savings goal was one of the proudest of my life. $25,000, enough for a decent new car with low financing. I spent weeks researching models, safety ratings, and fuel efficiency. I test drove dozens of cars, negotiated with multiple dealerships, and finally found it. A metallic blue Honda Civic with black interior, great mileage, and all the safety features I wanted as a nurse who sometimes drove home exhausted after 12-hour shifts. The day I drove it home, Madison barely looked up from her phone. "It's just a car," she said with a shrug. "Dad would have helped you buy something nicer if you'd asked. But my parents did seem proud, in their way. "I don't know why you didn't just ask us for help," my dad said, "but it's nice that you're so independent." Independence came with risks, though. Madison had a history of taking my things without asking. My clothes would disappear from my closet, only to reappear days later stained or stretched out. My laptop often migrated to her room. Even my special skincare products that I splurged on occasionally would mysteriously become half empty. When I confronted her, the response was always the same. "We're sisters. What's yours is mine. Stop being so uptight." Our parents never intervened. "Libby, you know how she is," my mom would say. "Just buy another one. It's easier than fighting." But a car was different. This was the most expensive thing I'd ever owned. I made it clear to everyone that nobody was to drive my car except me. I kept my keys with me at all times and parked in a specific spot in our shared driveway. About 3 months before the incident, I noticed other things going missing. My spare car key disappeared from my drawer, then mysteriously reappeared 2 days later. The position of my driver's seat would be different sometimes. The gas level would be lower than I remembered. That's when I decided to install a security camera overlooking our driveway. I didn't tell anyone about it. The small wireless camera was barely noticeable, mounted on a tree near our property line. It uploaded footage directly to cloud storage that I could access from my phone. At the time, I thought I was being paranoid. Little did I know this camera would become my salvation. The day everything changed was a Thursday in July. I was scheduled for a double shift at the hospital, from 7 in the morning until 11 at night. Philadelphia was in the middle of a heat wave, and the emergency room was packed with dehydration and heat stroke cases. I was exhausted before the day even began. As I was grabbing breakfast before leaving, Madison shuffled into the kitchen in her pajamas, looking like she'd just woken up despite it being nearly 6:30. "Can I borrow your car today?" she asked, reaching for the coffee I had just made. I pulled my mug away before she could grab it. "No, Madison, we've been through this. Nobody drives my car but me." "Come on," she whined. "My car's making that weird noise again and I need to go to a job interview." "Don't you want me to get a job?" This was another classic Madison tactic. Make me feel guilty for not helping her improve her life, even though any improvement was always temporary. "Take an Uber," I suggested, grabbing my bag. "Or ask Mom and Dad. Their cars are just sitting in the garage all day." She rolled her eyes. "Mom and Dad already left for their golf thing. And why would I waste money on an Uber when there's a perfectly good car sitting in the driveway all day?" "Because it's my car," and I said no, I said firmly. "Your interview must not be that important if you're not willing to spend $20 to get there." I left her pouting in the kitchen. As I walked out, I made sure my car keys were secure in my bag. And I even checked that my spare key was still in my locked desk drawer. It was. My shift was brutal. Multiple traumas came in, including a serious car accident with several injuries. The irony wasn't lost on me later. By the time 11 o'clock rolled around, I was dead on my feet. All I wanted was to get home, take a shower, and collapse into bed. The sight that greeted me in the driveway made my stomach drop. My beautiful blue Civic, my pride and joy, had a massive dent in the passenger side door. The paint was scratched from the front panel all the way back to the rear quarter panel, and the passenger side mirror was hanging by its wires. I sat in my car, staring at the damage, too shocked to even cry. After a 16-hour shift dealing with other people's emergencies, I now had my own crisis to handle. I took several deep breaths, trying to calm the rage building inside me. Then I went inside. Madison was lounging on the living room couch, scrolling through her phone. She barely looked up when I walked in. "What happened to my car?" I asked, my voice shaking. She glanced up, her expression annoyingly casual. "Oh, that, yeah, there was a little accident." "A little accident?" I repeated. "Madison, the entire passenger side is wrecked." She shrugged. "It's not that bad. Some jerk sideswiped me in the mall parking lot and took off. Not my fault." My mind caught on one word. "Sideswiped you? You were driving my car? After I specifically told you not to? I had my interview, remember? And my car was making that noise." "So you took my keys from my room and drove my car without permission?" Madison finally put her phone down and looked at me with that familiar expression, the one that said I was overreacting. "It's just a car, Libby. Insurance will cover it." "My insurance," I exploded. "Which means my rates will go up. And I'll have to pay the deductible." "Mom and Dad will help with that," she said dismissively. "They always do." "That's not the point. You took my car without permission, and now it's damaged." She stood up, annoyance finally breaking through her nonchalance. "Why are you being such a drama queen? Accidents happen. This wasn't an accident. This was theft. You stole my car." That's when it happened. The corner of Madison's mouth curled up into a smirk, and she uttered the words that would change our relationship forever. "What are you going to do about it?" "Mom and Dad will make you forgive me anyway. They always take my side." I stood there, speechless, the absolute confidence in her voice, the certainty that she would face no consequences for her actions, the complete disregard for my feelings or my property. In that moment, I saw her clearly for what she was: entitled, manipulative, and completely lacking in empathy. "We'll see about that," I managed to say before walking away. I went straight to my room, closed the door, and finally allowed myself to cry. Tears of frustration, anger, and betrayal streamed down my face. But as I calmed down, a thought occurred to me. The security camera. I hadn't even considered checking it until now. I grabbed my phone and opened the app that connected to the camera. Time to find out what really happened. With shaking hands, I navigated to the stored footage from that day. The camera had a perfect view of our driveway and captured everything clearly despite the bright summer sunlight. I scrolled back to around 8 in the morning, shortly after I had left for work. The footage showed Madison leaving the house around 9:30, fully dressed and looking far more put together than she had in the kitchen earlier. She walked straight to my car, pulled out a key from her pocket, and got in like she owned it. I felt my blood boil. She hadn't broken in or hot-wired it. She had a key. But how? My spare key was still in my drawer. She must have made a copy during one of the times she'd taken my keys without permission. I continued watching the footage. Madison drove away, and the driveway remained empty until around 2 in the afternoon when she returned. But she wasn't alone. 3 of her friends were with her, all laughing and talking loudly enough that the camera's microphone picked up their voices. "This car is so much nicer than your old one of her friends said. "I know, right? My sister thinks she's so special because she bought it herself, but whatever. What's hers is mine," Madison replied with a laugh. They all piled into my car again, with Madison in the driver's seat. The timestamp showed 2:14 p.m. I fast-forwarded through more empty driveway footage until the next activity, which wasn't until 4:52 p.m. Madison returned alone this time, and my stomach clenched as I saw the damage to the passenger side of my car. But what really caught my attention was Madison's behavior. She got out, examined the damage, and then did something shocking. She took out her phone and made a call, walking in circles around the driveway as she talked. "Hey, it's me," she said into the phone. "Yeah, I kind of dented Libby's car." "No, she doesn't know yet. She's working late." A pause. "I'm thinking I'll just tell her someone hit me in a parking lot and drove off. She'll never know the difference." Another pause, longer this time. Madison laughed. "No way am I telling the truth. I was parallel parking on Walnut Street and hit a fire hydrant. She'd kill me if she knew I took her precious car downtown." My jaw dropped. Not only had she stolen my car, driven it all over the city with her friends, and damaged it, but she was already planning to lie about it. And this wasn't just a white lie to spare feelings. This was a calculated deception to avoid responsibility. I kept watching, growing more furious by the minute. Madison went inside, then came back out about 20 minutes later with our dad's toolbox. She tried to pop the dent out herself, which only made it look worse. Then she tried to cover the scratched paint with what looked like a Sharpie marker. I would have laughed if I wasn't so angry. I needed more evidence. I switched to my laptop for a bigger screen and started digging deeper. I checked Madison's Instagram and found exactly what I expected. Several selfies posted throughout the day, clearly taken in my car. In one, she was posing with the steering wheel, my distinctive blue dashboard visible in the background. The caption read, "Upgraded my ride today. New car number blessed." Then I checked our family group chat. Sure enough, earlier in the day, my mom had asked how Madison's interview went. Madison had replied, "Great. Borrowed Libby's car since mine is acting up. So much nicer to show up in a new car for an interview. Makes a better impression." My dad had responded, "You probably should have asked her first, sweetie." And Madison's reply, "What she doesn't know won't hurt her. She never lets me borrow it anyway." My mom, "Well, be careful with it. You know how Libby is about that car." No one had bothered to tell me that my sister had taken my car without permission. They all knew and said nothing. I compiled all the evidence. Screenshots of the Instagram posts, the family chat, and clips of the most damning parts of the security footage. I saved it all to a folder on my laptop and made a backup copy to my cloud storage. Then I sat on my bed, trying to decide what to do. Part of me wanted to go downstairs immediately and confront Madison with everything I'd discovered. Another part knew I should wait until I calmed down. Or I might say something I'd regret. But the longer I waited, the more my anger festered. Around midnight, I heard Madison come upstairs and go to her room. A few minutes later, I heard her door open again, and soft footsteps padding down the hall. A gentle knock on my door. "Libby, are you awake?" Madison's voice was soft, almost childlike. I opened the door, saying nothing, just staring at her. "Look, I'm sorry about your car," she said, looking appropriately contrite. I should have asked permission. That was wrong of me. For a second, I almost believed she was genuinely sorry. Then I remembered the security footage. Her laughing with her friends, her phone call planning her lies. "I know what really happened," I said flatly. Her expression flickered briefly. "What do you mean?" "I told you. Someone hit me in the parking lot and drove away." "No, Madison. You hit a fire hydrant while parallel parking on Walnut Street." Her face went pale. "How did you—" "I have a security camera pointed at the driveway. It caught everything, including your phone call where you planned exactly how you were going to lie to me." "You were spying on me?" she gasped, immediately shifting to offense. "No, I was protecting my property. Property you stole and damaged." "I didn't steal it, I borrowed it." "Without permission, that's stealing." Her eyes filled with tears, right on cue. "I'm sorry, Libby." "Really? I'll pay for the damage." "With what money? You don't have a job." "I'll get one, I promise. Please don't tell Mom and Dad about this." And there it was. She wasn't sorry she had taken my car. She wasn't sorry she had damaged it. She wasn't even sorry she had lied about it. She was only sorry she got caught, and she was afraid of facing consequences from our parents. "We're having a family meeting tomorrow morning," I said firmly. "I'm showing them everything." "Please, Libby," she begged, grabbing my arm. "They'll be so disappointed in me." "Good. It's about time someone was." She switched tactics, her face hardening. "You know they'll just forgive me anyway." "They always do. You're just going to make yourself look like the bad guy." "Maybe, but at least I'll have stood up for myself." "Fine," she snapped. "Show them whatever you want, it won't change anything." She stomped back to her room and slammed the door. I closed my own door quietly, shaking with adrenaline but also feeling something else. A sense of power I hadn't felt in my relationship with Madison for a long time, maybe ever. For once, I had undeniable proof of her bad behavior. No matter how she tried to spin it, the evidence was clear. Tomorrow would be a reckoning. For Madison, for my parents, and for me. I barely slept that night, rehearsing in my head what I would say at the family meeting. By the time dawn broke, I was exhausted but resolute. I sent a text to the family group chat. "Family meeting. Kitchen. 9 a.m. Everyone needs to be there." My mom replied immediately. "Is everything okay, sweetie?" I didn't answer. Let them wonder. At precisely 9 o'clock, I walked into the kitchen with my laptop. My parents were already there, looking concerned. Dad was in his weekend casual clothes, sipping coffee. Mom was still in her robe, hair uncombed, which was unusual for her. Madison was conspicuously absent. "Where's Madison?" I asked. "Still sleeping," Mom said. "You know she's not a morning person. Can we do this later?" "No, this is about my car, and she needs to be here." I walked to the bottom of the stairs and called up, "Madison, family meeting, now." A few minutes later, she shuffled into the kitchen, looking deliberately disheveled and exhausted. She slouched into a chair without making eye contact with anyone. "What's this about, Libby?" Dad asked. "Your mom and I have tea time at 11. Of course they did. Golf was sacred in their world, certainly more important than my concerns. "My car was damaged yesterday," I began. "Oh, honey," Madison told us, Mom interrupted. "Some careless driver hit her in a parking lot and drove off. These things happen." "No," I said firmly. "That's not what happened." Madison took my car without permission and damaged it herself by hitting a fire hydrant while parallel parking. "That's not true," Madison protested, suddenly alert. "Someone hit me and drove away. It wasn't my fault." Dad sighed heavily. "Libby, accidents happen. We'll help with the insurance deductible if that's what you're worried about." This isn't about money, I said, though it partially was. It's about trust and respect. Madison stole my car, damaged it, and then lied about it. That's a serious accusation, Mom said, frowning. Madison says someone hit the car and left. Why would she lie about that? To avoid taking responsibility, like she always does, I replied, and I can prove it. I opened my laptop and turned it so everyone could see the screen. I have a security camera overlooking our driveway. It recorded everything. Madison's face drained of color. My parents exchanged confused glances. A security camera? Dad repeated. Why would you need that? Because things keep disappearing or getting damaged, and no one ever takes responsibility, I said pointedly. Watch. I played the footage. All of it. Madison taking my car in the morning. Madison returning with friends. Their conversation clearly audible. Madison returning again with the damaged car. Her phone call where she explicitly stated she hit a fire hydrant and planned to lie about it. Her failed attempts to fix the damage herself. The kitchen was silent except for the audio from the laptop. When the footage ended, no one spoke for several long moments. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. Madison, is this true? Did you hit a fire hydrant and lie about it? Madison's eyes filled with tears. I was scared, she whimpered. I knew Libby would be so mad. I'm not mad that you had an accident, I corrected. I'm mad that you took my car without permission and then lied about it. You never let me borrow anything. She shot back, tears vanishing instantly. You're so selfish. It's my car, Madison. I paid for it with money I earned working double shifts. You have no right to it. Girls, please, Mom interjected. Let's calm down. Madison, what you did was wrong. You should have asked permission. And not lied about it, Dad added, looking genuinely disappointed. I'm sorry, Madison said, looking down at the table. I made a mistake. I waited for more. For consequences. For something that would indicate this was being taken seriously. But the kitchen fell silent again. That's it? I finally asked. She says sorry, and we move on? What about my car? We'll pay for the repairs, Dad said, checking his watch subtly. We'll take care of the insurance claims so your rates don't go up. And Madison? I pressed. What happens to her? My parents exchanged uncomfortable glances. What do you want to happen, Libby? Mom asked. I want consequences. Real ones. She stole my car, damaged it, and lied about it. In the real world, that would mean criminal charges. Criminal charges? Mom gasped. Libby, she's your sister. Being family doesn't give her the right to steal from me. Dad raised his hands in a placating gesture. No one is pressing criminal charges. We're family. We work things out internally. Fine, I said, crossing my arms. Then Madison needs to pay for the repairs herself. Not you. Her. And she needs to lose access to your cars too, since she's proven she can't be trusted. That seems excessive, Mom said. It was one mistake. It wasn't one mistake. It was a series of deliberate choices. She chose to take my car without permission. She chose to drive it recklessly. She chose to lie about what happened. Libby, I think you need to calm down and move past this, Dad said, standing up. We'll pay for the repairs. Madison will apologize properly, but we need to maintain family harmony here. Family harmony? I repeated incredulously. Is that what we're calling it when Madison does whatever she wants and faces no consequences? That's unfair, Mom protested. Madison has faced plenty of consequences in her life. Name one, I challenged. They both fell silent. That's what I thought, I said. Well, here's what's going to happen. Either Madison faces real consequences for her actions, or I'll report the hit and run to the police myself. Hit and run? Dad asked, confused. Yes. She hit property and left the scene. That's a hit and run. It's on the security footage. I have evidence. You would do that to your own sister? Mom asked, aghast. I'm not doing anything to her. I'm holding her accountable for what she did to me and my property. This is ridiculous, Dad said, his voice rising. You're threatening your own family over a car? No, I'm standing up for myself after years of watching Madison get away with everything while I follow all the rules and get nothing for it. Madison, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up. You're just jealous because Mom and Dad love me more. The kitchen went deadly silent. Madison, Mom gasped. But I just laughed, a short, bitter sound. At least we're finally being honest. I closed my laptop and stood up. You have until tomorrow to decide. Either Madison faces real consequences from you, or I go to the police. Your choice. I walked out of the kitchen, ignoring their calls for me to come back and talk more. I'd said everything I needed to say. The ball was in their court now. As I climbed the stairs to my room, I heard my parents' voices rising in the kitchen, arguing with each other and with Madison. For once, I wasn't trying to be the peacekeeper. Let them figure it out themselves. One thing was certain, things would never be the same in our family again. The week that followed was one of the most tense I'd ever experienced in our home. My parents, normally so quick to smooth over any conflict, seemed genuinely at a loss for how to handle the situation. Madison alternated between dramatically avoiding me and making passive-aggressive comments whenever we were in the same room. Must be nice to have video evidence of everything, she muttered as we passed in the hallway. Big sister is always watching. I ignored her and continued on my way. I had made my position clear, and I wasn't backing down. On Monday, my mom took my car to the dealership for an estimate. The damage was worse than we initially thought. The dent had affected the door frame, and the scratches went deeper than the clear coat. The total came to just over $4,000, not including the loaner car I would need while mine was in the shop. The insurance will cover most of it, Mom assured me when she returned. We'll handle the deductible. No, I said firmly. Madison will handle the deductible. From her own money. Libby, be reasonable. She doesn't have that kind of money. Then she needs to get a job and earn it. Mom sighed heavily. We'll discuss it as a family. But those discussions never seemed to happen. My dad buried himself in work, coming home late and leaving early. My mom tried to maintain a facade of normalcy, cooking family dinners that half of us didn't attend and chattering about neighborhood gossip no one cared about. On Wednesday, I received a call from my Aunt Patty, my mom's sister. Libby, honey, your mom is very upset about what's happening at home, she began without preamble. I'm sure she is, I replied neutrally. Can't you cut your sister some slack? We all make mistakes when we're young. So they were recruiting reinforcements. Did Mom tell you what Madison did? That she stole my car, damaged it, and lied about it? That there's video evidence of all of it? Well, yes, but family is more important than material things, don't you think? This isn't about the car, Aunt Patty. It's about respect and accountability. I understand, but threatening to go to the police? That seems extreme. What would you call appropriate consequences for stealing and damaging someone's property, then lying about it? She hesitated. I'm not sure, but involving law enforcement in a family matter, if it were anyone other than Madison, would you feel the same way? Another pause. Just think about what you're doing, Libby. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. I appreciate your concern, I said, not meaning it at all. But this is between me, Madison, and our parents. Similar calls came from my uncle, my grandmother, and even my cousin Jake, all with the same message. Family comes first, forgiveness is important, Madison is young and made a mistake. No one seemed concerned about justice or accountability. On Thursday, I discovered something that pushed my anger to new heights. I overheard my parents talking in their bedroom. The Hansons were very understanding, my dad was saying. They agreed not to involve insurance if we paid for the damage to their car privately. Thank goodness, my mom replied. The last thing Madison needs is higher insurance premiums. I froze outside their door. What were they talking about? What damage to whose car? I waited until they left for dinner with friends, then searched my dad's home office. In his desk drawer, I found a receipt from an auto body shop for repairs to a silver Toyota Camry, dated 2 days after Madison's accident with my car. The owner's name was listed as Richard Hanson. My blood ran cold as I pieced it together. The fire hydrant Madison hit wasn't a fire hydrant at all. It was another car. She had committed a legitimate hit and run, and my parents had quietly paid off the other driver to keep it quiet. I was still reeling from this discovery when Madison burst through the front door with two of her friends, all of them laughing loudly. The same friends from the security footage. "Oh, hey Libby," Madison said, her tone falsely sweet. "We were just talking about you." "Were you?" I asked coldly. "Yeah, I was telling them how you're totally overreacting about the whole car thing. Making such a huge drama out of a little fender bender." Her friends shifted uncomfortably, clearly aware they were being dragged into a family dispute. "A little fender bender?" I repeated. $4,000 in damage is not a little fender bender. And hitting someone's parked car and driving away is a crime, not an accident. Madison's eyes widened slightly, but she recovered quickly. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I think you do. And so do Mom and Dad, since they paid off the Hansons to keep quiet about it." Now her friends looked truly uncomfortable. One of them murmured something about needing to get home, and they both quickly made their exit, leaving Madison and me alone in the foyer. "You're such a snitch," Madison hissed once the door closed. "Always digging up dirt, always trying to get me in trouble." "You get yourself in trouble, Madison. I just refuse to help cover it up anymore." She stormed past me up the stairs, shoving my shoulder as she went. The next day, I came home from an early shift to find Madison's car gone from the driveway. My parents' cars were both there, so they had to be home. I went inside and heard voices from the kitchen. "I don't see why I have to use my old car when there are two perfectly good ones sitting in the garage all day," Madison was saying, her voice whiny. "Because we can't trust you right now," Dad replied, his tone unusually firm. "You broke that trust when you took Libby's car without permission." "But I need to get to my interview. My car makes that weird noise." "Then you should have thought of that before you stole your sister's car," Mom added. I stood frozen in the hallway, shocked to hear my parents actually holding Madison accountable for once. "Fine," Madison snapped. "Let me borrow your car then, Dad. Just for the interview." "No, Madison. You'll need to get your car fixed or find another way to your interview." "This is so unfair," she shouted. "You never made Libby jump through these hoops." "Libby never stole anyone's car," Mom pointed out. I heard a chair scrape across the floor, then stomping footsteps. I quickly moved to the living room, pretending to have just walked in as Madison stormed past me. "This is all your fault," she snarled at me. I said nothing, watching as she stomped up the stairs. A moment later, I heard her bedroom door slam, followed by a loud crash that sounded like something breaking. My parents appeared in the hallway, looking weary. "Was that something breaking?" I asked. "Probably," Dad sighed. "She'll calm down eventually." "And then what? You'll clean up her mess and forget it ever happened?" "Libby, please," Mom pleaded. "We're trying here." "Are you? Because it seems like you're still protecting her from real consequences." "We've taken away her access to our cars," Dad pointed out. "That's a consequence." "It's a start," I acknowledged. "But what about the damage to my car and the hit and run that you covered up?" They exchanged guilty glances. "We're handling it," Dad said evasively. "No, you're hiding it. There's a difference." I went upstairs to my room, closing the door firmly. As I changed out of my scrubs, I noticed something was missing: my car keys. I always left them on my dresser when I was home. I checked my purse, my coat pockets, everywhere. They were gone. With a growing sense of dread, I checked my desk drawer where I kept my spare key. Also gone. I ran to the window that overlooked the driveway. My car was still there, thankfully. But if Madison had taken my keys, I decided to take immediate action. I ordered a steering wheel lock online with expedited delivery, and I called a locksmith to come and rekey my car's locks. It would be expensive, but it was necessary. That night, as I lay in bed trying to sleep, I heard my door creak open. I sat up quickly, turning on my bedside lamp. Madison stood in the doorway, looking startled to find me awake. "What are you doing in my room?" I demanded. I was just going to borrow your charger," she said unconvincingly. "Get out." "Geez, calm down. It's just a charger." "Get out now." She rolled her eyes but backed out of the room. I got up and locked my door, something I'd never felt the need to do before in my own home. The next morning, I caught Madison trying to sneak out with my car keys in her hand. I confronted her in the driveway. "Give me my keys," I demanded, holding out my hand. I need to go to my interview, she said defiantly. My car is making that noise again. That's not my problem. Give me my keys. No, she said, clutching them tighter. I'll bring it right back. You won't even know it's gone. Like last time? When you brought it back with $4,000 worth of damage? Give me the keys, Madison, or I'm calling the police right now. You wouldn't. I pulled out my phone. Try me. We stood there, at an impasse, until I started dialing. Only then did she throw the keys at me, hitting me in the chest. I hate you, she screamed, loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. You're the worst sister ever. She stormed back into the house. A few minutes later, I heard a loud crash from inside. When I went in to investigate, I found one of my mom's favorite decorative vases shattered on the floor of the living room. Madison was nowhere to be seen, but my parents were standing there, staring at the broken pieces. She did this because I wouldn't let her take my car again, I said. We know, Mom said quietly. And what, Libby? What do you want us to do? I want you to stop cleaning up her messes. I want you to make her face consequences for once in her life. Dad knelt down and started picking up the broken pieces. We'll talk to her when she calms down. Talk. Great. That's worked so well for the past 22 years. I went back to my room, seething with frustration. This pattern would never end unless someone forced it to, and it was becoming clear that someone would have to be me. I sat down at my computer and started formulating a plan. Enough was enough. It was time for Madison to face real consequences, with or without my parents' support. Monday morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in over a year. I had decided over the weekend that it was time to take matters into my own hands, and I needed a full day to execute my plan. Step 1. Find the Hansons. Using the information from the receipt I found in my dad's office, I was able to track down their address in a neighborhood about 20 minutes from ours. I drove there and sat in my car for a few minutes, gathering my courage. What I was about to do would irrevocably change my family dynamics, but I couldn't see any other way forward. The house was a neat colonial with well-maintained landscaping. I walked up to the door and rang the bell. A middle-aged woman answered. Can I help you? She asked. Are you Mrs. Hanson? I asked. When she nodded, I continued. My name is Libby. I believe your car was hit by a blue Honda Civic a couple weeks ago. Her expression changed immediately to one of recognition. Oh yes, the miller's daughter. They took care of everything. The car's been repaired. Mrs. Hanson, I'm not Madison. I'm her older sister, and it was my car that hit yours. Madison took it without my permission, caused the accident, and then lied about it. Mrs. Hanson looked confused. I don't understand. Her parents said she was borrowing your car with permission. That's not true. She stole it, had the accident, and my parents covered it up. I have security camera footage that proves it. I showed her the video on my phone. As she watched, her expression hardened. So this was a hit and run, she said when the video ended, and your parents paid us off to keep it quiet. Yes, I'm sorry, I only found out recently. She invited me inside where her husband joined us. I explained the whole situation, showing them the security footage again. They were understandably upset. We thought it was just an accident, Mr. Hanson said. We agreed not to involve insurance as a favor to your father. He's done business with my company for years. It was no favor to Madison to shield her from the consequences of her actions, I said. And it certainly wasn't a favor to me, since I'm the one whose car was damaged and whose trust was violated. What do you want from us, Libby? Mrs. Hanson asked gently. I want to make this right. Madison committed a hit and run. She should be held accountable for that. They exchanged glances. You're talking about going to the police, Mr. Hanson said. It wasn't a question. Yes. Would you be willing to file a report? I have the evidence. They were reluctant at first, concerned about getting involved in family drama. But when I explained the pattern of behavior, how Madison had never faced consequences for her actions, and how this would continue and possibly escalate if nothing changed, they agreed. Step 2. The police station. The Hansons and I drove separately to the local precinct. Filing the report took over an hour. The officer who helped us was professional, but puzzled by the timing. Why are you reporting this now, weeks after the fact? He asked. Because I only recently discovered what really happened, I explained. My sister lied about the accident, and my parents helped cover it up. And you have proof of this? I showed him the security footage. He watched it carefully, then nodded. That does clearly show a hit and run, he confirmed. We'll need to speak with your sister. I understand. You realize this could result in criminal charges against her? I do. And you're okay with that? She's your sister. Officer, if she were anyone else, would you be asking me that question? She committed a crime. She should face the consequences of that crime, just like anyone else would. He nodded slowly. Fair point. Step 3. The insurance company. From the police station, I drove to my insurance agent's office. I had been dreading this conversation, but it needed to happen. I need to report an accident, I told the agent, a middle-aged woman named Janet who had helped me set up my policy when I first bought the car. Of course, she said, pulling up my information on her computer. When did it occur? 2 weeks ago. But there's more to the story. I explained everything, showing her the security footage as well. Her expression grew increasingly grave. Libby, this is insurance fraud, she said when I finished. Your sister caused an accident while driving your car without permission, then lied about the circumstances to avoid liability. I know, and I want to make it right. By filing an accurate claim? Yes, and by providing all the evidence about what really happened. She nodded. I appreciate your honesty, but I should warn you, this will complicate your claim significantly. And it could result in your sister facing fraud charges in addition to the hit and run. I understand. We spent the next hour filling out paperwork and uploading the security footage to their system. By the time I left, I felt emotionally drained but also oddly relieved. The truth was finally coming out. Step 4, confronting my family. This would be the hardest part. I drove home, rehearsing what I would say, but when I arrived, I found my parents waiting for me in the living room, their faces grim. The police called, Dad said without preamble. They want Madison to come in for questioning about a hit-and-run accident. I know, I said, sitting down across from them. I filed the report with the Hansons this morning. You what? Mom gasped. Libby, how could you? Easily. Madison committed a crime. She's facing the consequences. We had an agreement with the Hansons, Dad said, his voice tight with anger. Everything was taken care of. No, you had an agreement to cover up a crime. That's not taking care of anything. Do you have any idea what you've done? Mom asked, tears in her eyes. Madison could lose her license. She could have a criminal record. Yes, Mom, I do know. Those are the natural consequences of committing a hit and run and then lying about it. She's your sister, Dad exploded. Family protects family. Family holds family accountable, I countered. If you had done that her whole life, we wouldn't be here now. We're her parents, Mom said. It's our job to protect her. It's your job to prepare her for the real world, where actions have consequences. You've failed at that spectacularly. Dad stood up, towering over me. You will call the police and tell them you made a mistake. You will withdraw that report. I stood too, refusing to be intimidated. No, I won't. And there's more. I also reported the truth to my insurance company. They know Madison took my car without permission and committed insurance fraud by lying about the accident. You had no right, Mom sobbed. I had every right. It's my car, my insurance policy, and my reputation on the line. We would have paid for everything, Dad said, his voice dropping to a dangerous quiet. The damages, the deductible, everything. It's not about the money. It never was. It's about accountability. What's going on? Madison appeared in the doorway, looking confused. Your sister has reported you to the police for the hit and run, Dad said, not taking his eyes off me, and to the insurance company for fraud. Madison's face went through a series of emotions: confusion, disbelief, anger, and finally fear. You can't do that, she whispered. I already have, I replied. They'll arrest me. Probably not, since it's your first offense. But there will be consequences. I can't believe you would do this to me, she said, tears filling her eyes. Your own sister. I'm not doing anything to you, Madison. I'm simply refusing to protect you from the consequences of your own actions. We'll fight this, Dad declared. We'll get a lawyer. We'll say the security footage was tampered with. Go ahead, I said calmly. Commit perjury. Add that to the list of crimes our family is willing to commit to protect Madison from responsibility. That stopped him short. For the first time, I saw a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "The police want to see me tomorrow morning," Madison said, her voice small. "What's going to happen?" "They'll take your statement, compare it to the evidence, and decide whether to charge you," I explained. "If you're smart, you'll tell the truth. It will go better for you." "And the insurance company?" Mom asked. "They're investigating the claim as insurance fraud. Again, if Madison tells the truth, it will help her case." "This is a nightmare," Mom moaned. "A nightmare of your own making," I said. "All of you." I went upstairs to my room, ignoring their calls for me to come back and discuss this further. There was nothing more to discuss. The wheels were in motion, and for once, Madison would have to face the music. The next day, Madison went to the police station with our parents. I went to work, trying to focus on my patients, instead of wondering what was happening. When I got home that evening, the house was quiet. Madison's door was closed, and there was no sign of my parents. I found a note on the kitchen counter. "Madison has been cited for hit and run and filing a false police report. Her license has been suspended for 6 months. We are at the lawyer's office discussing options." Dinner in the fridge, Mom and Dad. So businesslike, so devoid of emotion. I almost laughed. This was how they chose to communicate about something so significant? Madison emerged from her room around 8, her eyes red and puffy from crying. She sat down across from me at the kitchen table. "Are you happy now?" she asked bitterly. "No, Madison. I'm not happy that my sister is a person who would steal, lie, and run away from her responsibilities. I'm not happy that our parents enabled that behavior for 22 years. I'm not happy that it took something this extreme to finally get through to all of you. My life is ruined," she said dramatically. "I have a record now." "Your life isn't ruined. You got a citation, not a felony conviction. Your license is suspended, not revoked. You can recover from this. The insurance company wants me to pay them back for everything," she continued as if I hadn't spoken. "Over $4,000. I don't have that kind of money. Now you understand why I was so upset about the damage to my car." She was quiet for a moment, picking at a loose thread on her sleeve. "Mom and Dad are really mad at you." "I know. Dad says they might not pay for your car repairs now." "That's fine. The insurance will cover it, minus my deductible. I can handle that. They're talking about asking you to move out." That one stung, but I tried not to show it. "If that's what they decide, I'll find a place." Madison looked up, meeting my eyes directly for the first time. "Why did you do it?" "Really? Because I love you enough to want you to be better than this." She snorted. "Right. You love me so much you got me in trouble with the police." "Yes. Because in the real world, when you steal someone's car, damage it, hit another car and flee the scene, then lie about all of it, you get in trouble with the police. That's how life works for everyone except you, apparently." She was quiet again, longer this time. "The police officer said I was lucky." "Lucky?" "Lucky that no one was hurt in the accident. Lucky that it was just property damage. Lucky that it was my first offense. He said if anyone had been injured, or if I had a record already, I could have gone to jail." I nodded, saying nothing. He also said. She hesitated. He said, "I should thank you." "Thank me?" I repeated, surprised. He said it's better to learn this lesson now, with a minor offense, than later with something more serious. I hadn't expected that. He's right. "I don't know if I can thank you yet," she admitted. "I'm still too mad." "That's fair." She stood up, ready to return to her room. But at the doorway, she paused. "For what it's worth, I am sorry about your car. I shouldn't have taken it without asking. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Thank you for saying that." She nodded once and left. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time after, wondering if I'd done the right thing, hoping that someday my family would understand that my actions came from a place of love, not malice. Only time would tell. In the months that followed, our family dynamics shifted in ways I never could have predicted. The immediate aftermath of Madison's citation was tense, with my parents oscillating between anger at me for reporting the incident and disappointment in Madison for her actions. But as the dust settled, something unexpected happened. Change. It started with Madison. With her license suspended, she could no longer drive herself around, which meant she had to either ask for rides or figure out public transportation. Our parents, perhaps finally recognizing the importance of consequences, refused to be her personal chauffeurs. This forced independence led to Madison's first real job in years, a position at a small marketing firm within walking distance of our house. "It's not my dream job or anything," she told me one evening, about 3 weeks after she started. "But the people are nice, and I'm actually learning useful skills." I was surprised by her positive attitude. "That's great, Madison. I'm happy for you." "Yeah, well, it'll help me pay back the insurance company, so there's that." The insurance company had demanded restitution for the fraudulent claim, requiring Madison to pay back the full amount they had initially disbursed, plus a penalty. It totaled nearly $5,000, which would take her months to pay off on her entry-level salary. "I set up a payment plan," she explained. $200 a month. It's going to take forever, but at least they're not suing me." My parents, for their part, underwent their own transformation. They had initially threatened to kick me out of the house, but they never followed through. Instead, they sought help from a family therapist, something I never thought I'd see. "Dr. Lambert says we've been enabling Madison's worst behaviors," Mom admitted during one of our first family sessions. "She says we've been doing her a disservice by shielding her from consequences. We thought we were protecting her," Dad added. "But really, we were preventing her from growing up." "What about Libby?" Dr. Lambert asked. "How have you been treating her differently?" My parents exchanged uncomfortable glances. "We've been harder on Libby," Mom acknowledged. "We expected more from her because she seemed more capable. We took her responsibility for granted," Dad said, "and we probably didn't appreciate it enough." Hearing these admissions was validating but also painful. I had spent years feeling like I was imagining the disparity in how we were treated. Having it confirmed by my parents was both a relief and a reopening of old wounds. "We owe you an apology, Libby," Dad said, turning to me. "We've been unfair to you for a long time. And we're sorry we threatened to make you move out," Mom added. "That was wrong of us." I accepted their apologies, but I knew that real healing would take more than words. It would take sustained change in how our family operated. And surprisingly, that change began to happen. My parents stopped automatically taking Madison's side in disagreements. They began holding her to the same standards they had always held me to. They even started acknowledging my accomplishments more consistently, attending my hospital's staff recognition ceremony, and proudly introducing themselves as Libby's parents to my colleagues. As for Madison and me, our relationship evolved slowly. The initial anger and resentment gradually gave way to a tentative new dynamic. I wouldn't call us close, not yet, but there was a growing mutual respect that had never existed before. One Saturday morning, about 6 months after the incident, Madison knocked on my bedroom door. "Hey," she said when I opened it, "can we talk?" We sat on the edge of my bed, an echo of that midnight confrontation half a year earlier, but with a very different energy. "My license gets reinstated next week," she said. "I know. Congratulations." She twisted her hands in her lap. "I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened." "About what you did." I tensed, unsure where this was going. "At first I hated you for it," she continued. "I thought you were trying to ruin my life. But now," she took a deep breath, "now I think you might have saved it." "What do you mean?" Dr. Lambert had me think about where I was headed before all this happened. No job, no responsibilities, taking whatever I wanted without consequences. She asked me to imagine where that path would lead in 5 years, 10 years. Madison shook her head. It wasn't pretty. I was becoming someone I wouldn't have liked very much. And now? Now I have a job I don't hate. I'm paying my debts. I'm learning to take responsibility for my actions. I'm growing up, finally. She met my eyes. "You're the first person who ever really held me accountable, Libby. It was awful, and I'm still a little mad about it, but thank you." I was speechless. This was the last thing I had expected. "You don't have to say anything," Madison assured me. "I just wanted you to know that I get it now. What you were trying to do." After she left, I sat on my bed for a long time, processing our conversation. It had never been about punishing Madison or getting revenge. It had been about breaking a toxic pattern, about loving her enough to let her face consequences that would help her grow. And against all odds, it seemed to be working. 2 months later, I found an apartment of my own. Despite the improvements in our family dynamic, I knew I needed my own space to maintain the healthy boundaries I had finally established. "You don't have to move out," Mom protested when I told them. "Things are better now." "They are," I agreed, "and I want to keep them that way. I think some distance will be good for all of us." On moving day, my parents helped load the rental truck, and Madison surprised me by showing up with coffee and bagels for everyone. "Housewarming gift," she said, handing me a small wrapped package as we finished unloading at my new place. Inside was a framed photo of the two of us from when we were kids, maybe 8 and 5 years old, arms around each other and grinning widely at the camera. "I found it in the attic," Madison explained. "Thought you might want it for your new place." "It's perfect," I said, genuinely touched. "Thank you." As they prepared to leave, Madison lingered behind while our parents went to the car. "This doesn't mean you're getting rid of me, you know," she said with a half smile. "I still expect sister nights and all that stuff. I wouldn't have it any other way," I assured her. After they left, I sat in my new living room, surrounded by boxes yet to be unpacked, thinking about the journey that had brought me here. It had been painful and messy, with moments when I doubted whether I was doing the right thing. But looking back, I could see that it had been necessary, not just for me, but for all of us. The hardest lesson I learned through all of this was that sometimes true love means allowing people to face the consequences of their actions. It's not about punishment or revenge, but about growth and accountability. By protecting people from consequences, we deny them the opportunity to learn, to take responsibility, to become their best selves. My family still has work to do. Old patterns don't disappear overnight, and we all slip back into familiar roles sometimes. But we're aware now in a way we never were before, and that awareness makes all the difference. As for me, I'm learning that standing up for myself doesn't make me selfish or mean. It makes me someone who values herself enough to expect respect and honesty from others, even those I love most. And that's a lesson worth all the pain it took to learn it. So I ask you, my friends watching this, where do you draw your boundaries with the people you love? How do you balance compassion with accountability? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if this story resonated with you. Remember, sometimes the hardest decisions we make out of love are the ones that matter most. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps you navigate your own complicated family dynamics with courage and wisdom.